revisit on our Comely YouTube. Cool. Hello, everyone. It's always nice to see everyone's faces. Welcome to the first Friday event hosted by the Communication Leadership Program at the University of Washington. And we welcome our prospective students. Hello, hello. And also welcome our Comely community members. For those who are current students, type in the chat and let us know which cohort you're in and your track. And for prospective students, feel free to let us know which track you're most interested in, and we can connect later. My name is Evelyn Cole. I'm the head of Alumni Fellow at the Communication Leadership Program. Today, we're having a very exciting conversation about internship searching, especially in the content strategy and the UX field. And we have the opportunity tonight to hear from three outstanding alumni panelists to learn more about how they landed their internship and some essential skills and tips to find an internship. So let me quickly introduce them before we dive into the conversation. Lexi, who was the UX research intern at Walmart last summer, if I remember correctly, and Simriti, who was marketing operation intern at CVS. And Hema, she's the content strategy intern at Autodesk. Yeah, so with that, we're so pleased to have them. And if you can, turn on your camera and say hi. And I will dive into the first question. So I would like to begin asking you if you could tell us a little bit more about your roles, your background, and how do you land on this job, and if there's any interesting projects that you work on during your internships. I will hand it off to Lexi, Sumidi, and then Hema.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lexi, and I'm from cohort 20.5, graduating soon from CommLead. Last summer, I worked at Walmart as UX research intern. At Walmart, the UX researchers work as consultants. So they take research requests and then conduct the research and share research findings with cross-functional team. And last summer, I was very lucky to get involved in two high priority projects at Walmart, specifically for their business division called Sam's Club, which is like Costco. Those projects were one, a usability study for a new purchase experience on their app. And another one was to develop a UX research tool for researchers, designers, and PMs to develop personas more easily and quickly. And I'm also an international student, so I'm happy to answer questions about job hunting UX, international student, job searching. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. And I'll pass it to Smriti.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Smriti. I'm from MCDM track of communication leadership, and I will also be graduating this March with Lexi. So last summer, I was a marketing operations intern at Aetna CVS Health, and we particularly focused on mental health and health awareness. I was a part of the strategic planning and development team where we were trying to understand how West Coast and East Coast people and their behavior regarding insurance related to health and mental health. So I was fortunate to work on Q1 and Q2 reports since I started my summer internship in June. So I had a lot of social media posts to go over in my internship, but how I landed this also was because of CommLead, because there's a particular course called Wellness Narratives, which I took in my first quarter, and then I understood why I really wanted to work for CVS. So that was most of the work that I did. And yeah, if you want to talk about content strategy or marketing strategies, I can definitely help you with that. So first to Hema.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Hema. I'm also in the MCDM track along with Smriti and Lexi, and I'm also gonna graduating soon. I had a great opportunity to work as a content strategist this past summer with Autodesk. I was part of the digital employee experience team. So I was mainly working with the employee experience content, and my role was mainly regarding improving the findability, which is, as Autodesk is a really large company and there were like more than 12,000 employees, the IT content is a main center area for all of them to rely on. So I was mainly working in improving the search findability, and also the meta tag and title research related uh, projects. But my main focus, or the skills that I had to use a lot more from Comm was user research. Yeah, I'm also an international student, so feel free to ask any questions related to that. And yeah, looking forward to like talking to you all.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Before we dive to the second question, I forgot to mention, if you all have any questions that you want to ask our panelists, feel free to type the questions in the chat. We will have 10 to 15-minute Q&A session after our conversation, and we will address your questions individually. So, and also let us know if your question is for a specific panelist, so we know who to ask to. And at the end, we will also have breakout room sessions for you to connect with our panelists. They will be in their own breakout room, so you can select which room you want to go to afterwards. Cool. So my second question is, what kind of skills do you think are essential to find in internships like yours? Anything you learned from Conley would be helpful. I know you all touch on a little bit about the Conley courses and some skills that you learned. Is there anything that you think you find most helpful during your internship? I will pass it to Srimati, Hema, and then Lexi.
So for me, I'd say thought leadership is really important, and that is something also I did learn in ComLead with Kelly Myers. There's a specific course that we go over and we try to recognize our leadership styles. So that's very important if you're still unaware of what kind of leader do you want to be in future. And if you're in ComLead, I think it's very necessary that you understand what kind of person you are. So that's a good reflection for you as well. Another thing would be drafting campaigns, because if you're going social media or doing digital media, then you need to draft campaigns to make sure your message is very clear. So that would be one thing. Another is analyzing consumer behavior and then turning data into a story, because when you go into a meeting and present, only numbers won't help, because people need to know what's going behind those numbers. So if you're able to turn those into words and create a good story, then everyone who leaves the meeting will keep that with them and then work on it. So these would be like the top 4 skills that I would say are important.
To back Smriti off, I also definitely think, especially when it comes to presentations, having that storytelling element to the data or the insights that you're providing is very important. So regardless of which internship or which career path you choose, I think that is one common skill that anyone can develop on. So I would definitely like pinpoint that one skill. Apart from that, especially for content strategy and UX content strategy, I would say having a solid grip on user research is really important. People might think that content strategy like might only have a little bit of user research, but it's actually the ability to understand user research is also important, regardless if you conduct user research or not. Like to draft surveys, to be able to interview people, and to also like analyze the data once it's collected. I think user research is one of the skills which I took a lot of classes from Comlead, and it really helped me in understanding the basics of user research, and also dive into the deeper elements, because one of the goals that I worked on was findability, which is improving the content within the employee experience. And having that background in user research really helped me like solidify and streamline my goals, which helped me create that momentum throughout my internship. So I would definitely say user research. And having a little bit of, and coming to soft skills, like I would say you don't feel shy to speak up. I would definitely encourage, like, don't think that just because you're in a big meeting where you're talking in front of a lot of other people, don't feel shy. I definitely think being more proactive with your communication is also one of the most important things to push you to do a lot of other things, and also like take you to projects that you really want to work on. Those are some of the skills that I would definitely ask you to focus on.
Yeah, I totally agree with Smriti and Hema. And for UX research role, so I think the first like fundamental skills you'll need is the technical skills, like knowledge about UX, design thinking, those methodologies you will be employed, and under which condition you should choose which method, and how do you balance trade-offs under real-world constraints. And that's definitely something that I learned, and you will be able to learn from Comly classes like user research and UX strategy class by Jason, and be able to kind of practice it through other like practicum class and UX studio class. And the second thing is, I would say, +1 to the storytelling skills. That's definitely important in both the interview process and when you actually start your job at the company. So, because in the interview, basically the whole thing, it's about tell a story about your past experience and how you would be able to contribute to that company at that specific position. And in terms of working at the company, so especially for UX researchers, at Comlead, when you do research, you always work with like very nice people who value research and do have like do want to spend the time and do have the luxury to have the time to look at your research and then makes design decisions based on your research. But in real world, you'll find those people are very busy and they don't necessarily have time for all the reports. So storytelling becomes very important in terms of letting people grasp your research findings in a real effective way and in a very in a way that support their work. So you can both collaborate well based on the research you do, and the research will become more meaningful in the whole process. So yeah, storytelling. We do have a lot of storytelling classes at Comm. I believe there are a lot of courses started with the storytelling, blah, blah, blah. So I'll highly recommend those.
Thank you all for sharing how huge another huge +1 on storytelling. I know that for our 501, when I was in cohort 19, our classes were mostly focusing on storytelling as well, and then to how to like be efficient and also tell a story to appeal our either customers or your coworkers. So that's one thing that I find it very, very useful as well. Yeah, moving on to the next question. I also saw someone ask that question in the chat too. How do you land on your internships? Could you tell us your application process and if you got any referrals from either ComLead or the network connections that you know on LinkedIn or anywhere else? If that's the case, how do you approach to the person to ask for the referral? I will pass it to Hema, Lexi, and then Sumiti.
I would like to say that I totally get that it's a very long, tedious process, and I tell you all to hang on there, like it'll be fine, you'll figure it out. Because when I first started out, not just me, but like talking to my friends, peers, and everyone, it was a stressful process to begin with. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what to focus on, and I was just like applying everywhere. But the most effective things that help me are, one is actually taking that time and sitting down and figuring out what kind of roles do I really want to apply to, and what kind of companies, or do like it feels it I understand that it feels like in our head it feels like applying to more internships makes more sense, but I would definitely emphasize that putting that extra effort, like 10 minutes on that one specific an application that you want and you're sure of, more than just applying to random ones is more effective in landing. That's what I realized after like a month of just applying to everything that I figured out, because I just kept getting rejections over rejections, and I was like, it is very dejecting. So I would definitely say like streamline. I would rather have you guys apply for like 30 very focused and very important ones for you than applying to like 100 of random ones that you don't really care about, because it'll help you understand why you're applying and why you want to do this specifically. Another thing that really helped me was overcoming that fear and just asking for help. There's nothing wrong in asking for help. Ask for help with like as many people, like even if you just met them once through Comm, through classes, through professors. Everyone's very helpful. Everyone wants to help you. So if you want to reach out to a professor, someone, and just introduce yourself and be like, hey, I really want you to connect me with this guest speaker that came up because I'm really interested in this particular topic. I know it feels a little, it can feel a little overwhelming in the beginning to take that initiative, but trust me, once you're past that, you'll be very grateful that you did it, and you tried. At least you tried and you gave your best shot. And always, like, I would definitely say follow along with the conversation, even if you don't get anything out of it, even if you don't get a referral or hoping whatever you wanted to get, you would still have made a good connection with them that can be helpful. You never know how. And the third thing I would definitely say that keep updating your resume, keep updating your cover letter for every position, every application that you applying for. I would definitely count in putting that extra 2-minute effort in like reorganizing and rewording your resume, and your curating that resume specifically for each application. That made a huge difference in my application. I really saw getting more replies and more reactions comparatively like that. Yeah, I would say these three are like my main broad suggestions.
Cool. What about Lexi?
Yeah. So for me, I started to apply around this time last year. So it wasn't very early for UX roles, because a lot of UX internship were released like around July to September the year before. So I was pretty anxious at that time because I thought I started too late. But around like January last year, I realized that I couldn't wait anymore, because I was constantly working on my portfolio, thinking it wasn't ready, it wasn't perfect. I couldn't share it with the recruiters yet, but at the end, you will know that your portfolio will never be ready. It will never be perfect. It's a continuous work. So my first suggestion would be don't wait until it's too late, because I know that a lot of roles are on a rolling basis. So once the role opens, recruiter will start to look at resumes, and they will start to pass qualified candidate to hiring manager, and they will start the interview process. Like maybe in February or in March, you will still see that role available on the internet, but maybe there are already people who got the offer or already at the end of the interview process. So don't wait. And then I did ask for referrals from Comm alumni and also my friends. My final offer didn't come from referral, but I think networking is definitely a good way to expand your search and level up your possibility. But another again, you don't need to wait for someone. You don't have to have someone to refer you to apply for a job. So again, don't need to wait too much. And then one tips that I think worked well for me is like after I apply or before I apply for an position, I always go to LinkedIn and then check the updates or posts from people who worked as similar roles at the company to kind of take a look at how their day-to-day would be like, or what kind of exciting project they might be working on, to get to know about that company more. And that didn't happen when I looked for internship, but while I'm currently looking for full-time, another thing I'm doing, and I think it's working, is when you apply or want to apply for positions at a company, reach out to people who are working there and kind of asking them to if they have a time to briefly chat with you about their job, and what would be the role, what will the role be like in that at the company.
So for me, I did apply on my own, but I did have three very strong supporting factors. First of all was Dr. Ekinyasin, of course, director of Comlead, because when we go for 5 for 1 and everyone goes for that class, we are told about values, and you are able to understand which brand or which organization can be good for you because you kind of resonate with that. So that did help me to understand that, yes, I do want to work for CVS because I want to make a change with my work. I just don't want to do like some corporate job where no change is happening. So that was one of my support. And you can always talk to her. So it's very easy to, just clear your head whenever there's an issue. Then I had a class which was like talking about wellness narratives with Lara Bradshaw. So whatever the questions were asked in the interview, I would say I actually had studied them in the quarter. So it was like somebody helped me indirectly. And then I did work with Comlead Consultancy for iLabs, and that was also in the same domain. So I really had a direction through whatever work I was doing. And it made very clear for me what kind of role I'm looking for, because as everyone applies for a lot of internships, and I did too, but why was this the one that I wanted to go forward was because I knew that my values were resonating with that company as well. And then all of like it takes at least a month, even if it's the internship that you're going to land for, because usually there are like 3 rounds of interviews. I started interviewing with CVS on December 2nd, and I got my offer on December 31st. So it was literally like it took me a whole month for 3 rounds. And then, of course, I had a week to decide and everything, but it takes at least a month. So be patient, you'll get there, don't worry. And as Hema said, piggybacking on that, like it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And try to figure out if the role actually makes sense, because while you're interviewing and they ask you a question, your storytelling skills will be utilized, and they'll understand whether you really want this job or you're just talking about it. Because you can't really make up a lot of stories until unless that passion is actually reflecting. So concentrate on that, and it might actually make the process easier, because then an interview doesn't feel like an interview, it's just like a conversation and two people are talking. So you'll always run out of time if you're having a conversation, but if it's an interview, it'll be like on point, 15 minutes, okay, done, thank you for the interview. So that's something I think you should always consider. And of course, ask anyone for help, be it your other cohort members, be it your current friends, or you see any seniors on LinkedIn. Everyone is very helpful, and faculty is obviously always there. It's just an email that is that you have to send. So ask anyone for help, and I'm sure they will respond back. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you all. Another tip from me is if you're like job searching on LinkedIn, what I did when I was job searching was I will go on their LinkedIn site, and it will show like how many employees working there, and I'll go there and then filter to type in the field or like the title I was looking for. For example, I work in content, so I just basically search whoever works in content in that company and try to connect with them to ask for a coffee chat and just get to know more about them. And it didn't work every time because not everyone will accept your invitation, but it worked out at the end. I was able to connect with some of my current coworkers before my interviews, and I chatted with them on LinkedIn, asked a few questions about the company culture, and just to build the connections first. So yeah, it's always helpful to reach out and don't be shy. That's just one tip from me. Oh, I got one last question before we move on to the Q&A. Can you share one piece of advice for our students who are currently looking for an internship or who are prepping for their interviews? Is there anything that you think is most important that you have to keep in mind when they're doing job search or when they're preparing for their current interviews? I will pass it to Lexi, Sumiti, and Nehema.
Yeah, one thing I kind of touched on a lot in the last question is don't wait, because I know a lot of you could have this kind of anxiety that I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I still need to get prepared. My resume is not perfect, my portfolio is not perfect. Come on, they will never be, so don't wait. And another thing I would say under this economy is don't get disheartened if you receive rejections, because that's totally normal, especially under this economy. I believe we all got a lot of rejections in our internship searching or job hunting process. So don't take the interview process, take the preparation seriously, but take the result easy. You only need one offer at the end, so don't get disheartened.
So for me, I would say that take some time and reflect on what you really want to work as, because as when you're in a communications program, there are a lot of options for us, but what is right for you and what you really want to enjoy, because when you have to do that for 40 hours a week, you really want to enjoy it. Trust me, you don't want to just wake up and be done with it. So think about what kind of role you will enjoy and then apply for those roles, because when you get questions from the interview like, okay, what do you expect out of this job, and your answer is something which is very made up, they'll understand. But if it's something coming out of passion or like real concern, they'll understand and they'll take you forward. And also follow up on your emails, like even if you think the interview went bad, please email and say thank you for the experience and would like to stay in touch. Like, do make sure that you do that.
Great advice from both Smriti and Lexi. Adding to that, I would also say that follow the breadcrumbs. Like if you really felt like knowing the why you're applying, why you want the specific position, or like if you find something interesting, talking to those people, getting like I would definitely say follow the breadcrumbs and like don't you need to have a really strong understanding of why you're doing that, because if you don't, then you will feel lost and you will feel like more out of track than you normally would through this entire process. So knowing a strong why and like don't be shy in reaching out to people and asking for referrals. I would definitely say that referrals have a very strong percentage of getting you where you at least land, like getting that interview. So don't give up if someone says they can't help it. It's okay, like move on to another person, find someone else who can help you in that position. I would definitely say being a little more creative in how you're presenting your story is also important, because they're interviewing a lot of candidates in the same position and they're all applying for the same thing. So like try to take that extra few minutes and come up how uniquely you can present your story. Having that one extra element of your personal touch is really important in conveying why you fit for the role. You like it's important that you kind of give that authenticity away in the interview process. So like I think focusing on that was also really helpful for me. And yeah, good luck with everyone. Don't stress. It'll be fine.
Thank you all so much for your advice. Before we move on to, I guess it's time for us to move on to the Q&A section. I will pass it back to Valeska to facilitate this part.
Yeah, thank you, Evelyn, and thank you, everyone. So far we have two questions. The first one was, what's the interview process for a UX related internship? That one was for Lexi. I know we already talked a little bit about that, but Lexi, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I can definitely add something to it. So the interview process will differ from company to company. It depends. But basically it will range from 2 rounds of interview to like about 5 to 6. The 5 to 6 was kind of extreme for internship, but 2 or 3 rounds are kind of normal for UX internships. So the first one would normally be kind of a HR screening, or a lot of companies nowadays use those kind of computer aid interview tools, like you will record yourself and answer questions through an online platform. I don't like it, but that will be the first one. And then the second one could be either technical screening or portfolio presentation, where basically you showcase your past experience, past project you worked on, and answer some kind of technical questions like scenario questions, and how would you approach certain problems proposed by raised by the interviewer. And the last round usually will be about with a hiring manager or someone on the team asking you about some behavioral questions, like tell me a time when you show leadership, or if this is the case, how would you approach it? Something like that, to see if you fit the team culture or company culture. And that's basically some kind of interview process I've seen a lot for UX roles.
Thank you, Lexi. The next question is, apart from Handshake and LinkedIn, what other platforms can we use to hunt for internships? Is there any other platforms any of you use?
I can answer that. So I won't say there's a platform, but I would say if you know some organization that you really want to work for, they usually have fellowship programs or summer programs. Go check their website and you'll always find it. So, and just apply there. When you really want something, there's not an easy way. You have to work really hard for it. So just go and find the website and look for it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mitri.
I can add to that a bit. So for platforms, for me, I try to expand my reach. So I also look at Indeed and Glassdoor. But for apart from that, I also follow a lot of UX people, and especially for UX roles, there are some UX job board on LinkedIn that you can follow. They'll also repost a lot of job opportunities. And then if you follow some UX thought leaders, professionals in the industry, they'll also repost some opportunities they know from their friends or other people in the industry. So that will be another way to look for opportunities as well.
Thanks, Lexi.
To add on to that, there's another website that I kind of use to just look into the companies and organizations in Seattle, especially. It's called Built in Seattle. It has like a specific location specific job, especially with startups and stuff. I can put it in the chat. That also helped me, apart from LinkedIn and Handshake, to just like, understand what kind of companies are there in Seattle, or like what kind of roles, and just reaching out to them and finding out, even if their position is filled, they'll help you understand like you can at least get information of where they're at if they're looking for someone, maybe not for summer internship, but maybe for fall internship or something. So like nothing, I wouldn't say nothing is a waste of time. I would definitely encourage you guys to like go for it and like, like follow those trails and like find the information that you need to find it. Yeah.
Thanks, Emma. That's really helpful. So next question, it's coming from Seton, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Feel free to correct me. So they are asking, I would like to ask Lexi that what do you have more quantitative research or qualitative research in your work?
So for my role at Walmart, it was mostly about qualitative research, and that's also something I've observed in the industry. So for roles you will see called UX researchers or user researchers, most of the work will be around, will be employing qualitative research methods like in-depth interview, like some kind of qualitative questionnaires or survey, and card sorting, also in a more qualitative way. If you're looking for more quantitative roles, you will see some positions called Quant UXR, and that usually target PhD candidates. But if you have, of course, a quant background, that will be another good opportunities to get into the UX field as well.
Thanks, Lexi. And I think also for you is our next question, which is, I would like to know how many case studies are required or recommended to showcase on the portfolio for UX internships.
So normally you will see people have about 3 or 4 core cases that they are proud of to showcase on their portfolio website. But like if you only have 2, I would definitely recommend to go with that 2 and then make them solid, and with instead of having no portfolio, because nowadays in the UX industry, given the competition, people do expect to see portfolio when you apply for a job, especially for UX design. It's kind of a must. For UX research, not a must, not necessarily, but definitely a plus. And they do expect a presentation of your portfolio in the interview process. So they will, it will come sooner or later. So yeah, a portfolio is definitely needed for UX roles.
Yeah, and I think that kind of answers a little bit of the next question, which was, I'd like to apply to UX positions, but I have not taken classes in UX design yet and do not have a portfolio. I am planning to take these classes in the spring. Should I still apply to these positions? And I think you answered a little bit of that, Lexi, with the portfolio part. But
Yeah,
what would you recommend?
so given that portfolio is a must, I assume you're interested in UX design role, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so yeah, for UX design, portfolio is necessary. So I would recommend you to take a closer look at your previous experience. For example, if you come from a design background, maybe not UX design, but like graphic design, how would you leverage your graphic design skills to the UX field? And then you may create some case studies about your previous experience that would speak to your passion or what you want to achieve in UX. So that will also work. But if you're taking like UX classes this quarter, definitely I would recommend you to put some of your classwork to your portfolio as well. And if not, there are a lot of volunteer opportunities at Comm consultancy and out there on some website that you can kind of gain some real world experience, hands-on experience, and also add that to your portfolio.
Yeah, thank you, Lexi. So our next question comes from Nick, and it's for Smriti. Smriti, can you talk a bit more of what your role looked like in content marketing strategy? What kind of work took place at the internship level?
So for me, since I joined in June, they already had 6 months of data to read and analyze. So in each for the first week, I had to go over 4 main platforms that they were using, which is like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and been YouTube, and whatever they were doing, I had all the numbers. So I had to understand what is the difference between West Coast and East Coast, since they the main headquarters is in the east side, and then why were people really engaging with a particular kind of post or not, and what kind of posts were actually working out, since now we have different platforms and different types of posts everywhere. And it's not like if Instagram reels are working at some place, then videos will work on Facebook. It's not like that. And actually in June, they turned every video on Instagram into a reel. So I had to look back into that thing, because a lot of people were making those formats and templates for their Instagram profile. So what happens to the grid now, and what will we do now? Because at that moment you have to give reports to your seniors, like my supervisor had to give that, but at the same time I was there. So first was like analyzing all the data, but now I had all those numbers, so what will we do? So for that I had to turn that into like a visual storytelling piece, so that whoever was in the meeting there could understand why I was talking about those numbers, why are they important. So another task would be that. Then every platform needs a different strategy, so I was also working on that, and why we need to differentiate. And these were the 3 main tasks that I was working for in 3 months. And apart from that, there was a lot of networking opportunities, because although I was a part of one team, CVS is huge. They have like 10,000 people you can reach out to, and you have all those seminars and town hall events which you can attend. So they actually encourage you to go and talk to them, so you can understand if maybe this team is not for you, and maybe you want to join some other team, and then learn about the brand values from different perspectives. Because your team might think about it in a certain way, but another team who's like from UX, or maybe just sales, they understand it in a very different way. So you go and enter those meetings and understand what is the difference, and then come up with a campaign which is fruitful from every perspective. So those were like some of the things that I did.
Thanks for sharing, Smriti. Um, so our next question is coming from Wenji. They're asking, what kind of portfolio is the effective for job searching? Could you please show us the website? I'm guessing an example, and I'm guessing this is about the UX portfolio.
Yeah, so given the nature of a portfolio, because it's basically a representation of who you are and what you've done in the past, it's really vary a lot from person to person. But I do recommend, and what I did when I built my portfolio was to look at other people's profile, like a lot of them, to kind of see how people frame their story and get an idea of how I could tell my story. But normally, from a structure wise, the portfolio contains, first of all, case studies, like projects you've done in the past, and usually an about page, briefly talk about your education background, your work experience, and how you, if you're from other industry, how you break into UX. And then usually another page or a link to your resume. So I can send some link here as a reference, but I do recommend you to do a search on the internet, because there are a lot of amazing portfolio done by professionals in the industry, and especially go look for someone that's echo to your background. Like, for example, if you're from let's say architecture, and you want to pivot to UX design, go look for someone who also had an architecture background and see how they make that transition happen.
Yeah, thanks, Lexi. That's actually great advice. I was working on my portfolio during the summer, and I can tell you, and everyone, that if you type in like UX portfolio, how to guide examples, you're gonna find like a ton of articles where they actually analyze other people's portfolios, and you can visit their websites. And there are like so many different styles, like everyone has their own personality put on their portfolios. But as Lexi mentioned, there are the basics that you always find, which are like the case studies, the bio, and those kind of things. So definitely do the search because it's really helpful. And I think with that, we are done with the questions for now. But before handing it back to Evelyn, I just wanted to share with our prospective students here that we have more admission events coming soon. So you can check the link that I just dropped on the chat, and you can sign up for future events. And you can also send me an email if you have any questions about that or the admission process. And yeah, with that, I'm handing it back to Evelyn.
Sounds good. Thank you, Velasca. Thank you, panelists and Velasca and everyone for joining our event today. We'll move forward to the breakout room sessions. So each panelist will be in their individual room, and then you are able to select whichever room you are interested in going to. So I guess Velasca will send over the option for you to pick later. So our event will end here, but we will have the conversation in different breakout rooms, and I think we will wrap up at 6:30 if I'm correct. So thank you again for joining, and for prospective students, definitely check out our future events. We have First Friday every month, so look forward to seeing you in the future sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I will be opening the breakout rooms now. Also, me and Liao will stay here in case everyone has any questions. Prospective students, if you want to ask anything, this is a good time to do so.